Welcome to Theory and Practice,
a podcast dedicated to decoding research in the field of speech-language pathology.
This is Sarah.
And this is John. We're both SLPs delving into research and
equipping you with evidence-based practices and empower you to provide the highest quality care for your clients.
As a disclaimer, this is just our personal opinions and thoughts. It's not meant to misinform or claim the intentions of the literature or publication. We also encourage you to read and interpret the findings independently.
Hey
Sarah, how are you?
Today is a super rare occurrence where we get to be in person together.
In one place.
Yeah,
right?
In one place. And today we're here in your lovely apartment. The wonderful styling from John's mom.
The Christmas tree. The Christmas tree
pillow really makes this entire scene, though. Okay, like it was a great buy. Target still has the tag on it.
Yep.
Still have the tag on it. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Right. Well, Sarah, welcome to my home.
And also we want to record for today the recap. Our recap.
Yes. So we are at our final episode of our second season. Wow, can you believe it?
You know, we did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Mm-hmm. And we did it nice, like slow and steady, very low pressure for us.
Yeah.
So let's recap the episodes from.
Sure. So let's definitely think about what we did first. I think we did like Crip Linguistics for the first episode.
Yeah.
So Crip Linguistics it's a very radical thought that there is no such thing as bad languaging, and language can be multimodal, and really operationalizing the concept under Crip theory. So Crip theory kind of dismantles the idea of what is typical and what is atypical. It just dismantles the entire concept and saying that there is a way of doing things that may appear different, and that is typically okay as the norm. So that's what Crip theory kind of says. And then Crip Linguistics is the one that's saying, regardless how we use our language, there is no such thing as bad languaging. So that's kind of one way to kind of think about that. I think that was a time when we were talking about like language practices and how speech therapists are looking at language and really challenging like what is the job of the SLP.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yes. But also it makes you question like what is the job of anyone then if they're in like different modalities? Because what we're saying in Crip Linguistics was that like there are not only different modalities, but there is also no wrong way.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? So I think most of us will respect the fact that there are many modalities. There's unconventional, conventional gestures.
Mm-hmm.
There's like vocalizations. And even like you don't have to have like expanded sentence structure.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think a critical piece of Crip Linguistics was there is no wrong way. So anything, so even reaching, even like and just staying at that level is okay.
Yes. That's what
right. Like anything is okay, and staying in that level is okay. Like we don't have to shape anything to be a norm.
Right. Or to be typical, like what is considered typical, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that can go a long way. I don't think the society... No. That's totally fine. I don't think the society is yet ready to have that conversation because what is typical is so subjective.
But it also dismantles like any form of intervention.
Yes.
Not just for speech therapists, but like OT could be there. PT could be there. Like, why do we have... And then, like teachers even could be there.
Yeah. So that whole thing can question like reading and writing curriculum, the Common Core state standards, right?
I think it could also even fall in line with things like vision.
Yeah,
right? Like, we don't even need to do vision therapy.
Multiple Crip linguistics or Crip theory that falls into those things. So I think Crip time really looks at like why are due dates even necessary? So, and how do we make, how do we dismantle the ableism in the due dates and things like that? So that kind of like reshapes how we do our teaching pedagogy practices and things like that. So I think it's a very radical concept that we should to really think about when we're working with students with complex communication needs or children with speech and language issues and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an interesting one.
Yeah.
It falls along with neurodiversity.
It does. Yeah. It does follow along with neurodiversity and also ties in with translanguaging episode that we've done. So yeah, I think it was a great article to start off the new season with.
Yeah. And it also like makes me think about like what would a neuro affirming therapist be?
Right. Yes. So what would that? And then we're working with families. What are I think the power differentials, right? We've been talking about the power differentials and all that. Sarah, what are your thoughts on that article that we discussed?
We all know how I thought, well, if we listen to the episode, we all know how I thought about that, right? That like IDEA is in a coded language that if it's difficult for even me, like I might understand it from work because they have made it into, they have operationalized it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because school district has synthesized that information to make us behave a certain way that would be adhering to IDEA. But do I really know what IDEA is, right? Well, not really until I have to go and read it very thoroughly and like and look at it. Not only IDEA, but like your state laws.
Yeah, and it differs, right?
Yeah, and it differs, right? Because like, IDEA is federal, so they say these very broad statements, and then your state defines that more clearly, right? And so that being the case, like there is a huge power differential because if your state and if your school interprets it in one way and you do not know what that is, who has the power who has the power
in that case?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Who has the power? The power is obviously like politicians, people in power who develop these laws, like OSEP, right? And then the researchers of, who are putting the rules in there, right? Who are like the researchers who are driving these laws, right? And then the lawmakers themselves, and then the policies that the people who adhere to those policies being the state and the schools, right? All of those people have more power than the actual communities that they're serving. And like the people who are needing this IDEA, like people with disabilities, right? Or like families with children with disabilities, like they need to understand this coded language and these multiple steps before they get it. Before they get any services.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that like, let's just have a no process, right? But I'm saying that like, let's have clarity then. How can we make it very open and honest and transparent?
That's a really interesting thought because I believe the intent of the law is to provide equity, right? That's the intent of the law. However, the law is interpreted in a way that it favors the school district, right? Or in a way that it will definitely work for them, where families of all different backgrounds may not understand or don't know how this works, or even like work against where the family's coming from.
Well, I think that it's a gatekeeping of information.
It is.
Right? It's like, so I don't think the law itself or the school's policies themselves favor the district. It favors families. But the only way that families can get access to even know that is through that.
The interpretation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So meaning like this, like, so meaning like, like the school district knows what not to tell you, right? So that you can not go through due process, right? So here's the thing, like like procedural safeguards.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We may offer that before every meeting, but if you read the procedure safeguard, it's not that easy to understand.
Yes.
It's not even in an outline format. It's like headers, right? And so it's like that. And then how often are like IEP teams offering to explain that to families? Right?
Yes.
And so I feel like the laws themselves is one thing, but then there's an aspect of the gatekeeping of the information.
Yeah.
And it's not really gatekeeping because we gave them like the procedural safeguards, but the like policies themselves are already coded language.
Right.
So what is the power differential, right? Like it's not fair to, it's not truly transparent and honest or equitable. That's the word.
Right. And where the school district knows more information, but chooses not to disseminate them, right? And keeping the laws just as is. Yeah.
So like my daughter, I did her IEP meeting, right? And one of the things that the specialist at the meeting said to me was like, well, what we're here to see is if there's educational impact, right? And if you're in special ed, you know that that's like a code language. We are looking for educational impact.
Yes.
Right? That's coded language to be like, even if their child scores low, there's no educational impact. We meet all of those in our program. They don't need a specialized program. This program meets that need, right? And then they go, well, we want to do that because we don't want to overqualify children, right? But here's the thing. The law doesn't say we're overqualified. The law said disproportionality. That's what it says. The law says we need to make sure that there's not a disproportionate number of children of color being put into special education, right? So disproportionate also means underqualification. But almost no school district that I know of, including the one that my children go to, right, have ever considered underqualification. Right?
Yes.
So I think in the last season, we read through some cultural humility articles about that, right?
Yes.
And like some underrepresented groups of people who would not get special education services, though they need it, would be Asian American children.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Like, because why would that be? Because there's already a bias and cultural, and a societal stereotype that we're like genius, we're math, we're the model minority, like all of that. And then we lose access, right? And so that being the case, what I'm just trying to say is that when my program specialist was like, is there an educational impact? We don't want to overqualify kids. And I'm like, I hear that. Me too. But I also don't want to let kids fall through the cracks. Okay? Because kids who need the little boost, need the little help, they deserve that right.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I want to know how much thought was put into that before you started like whipping out the law. Like, did you even consider looking at my child holistically before you said that? Or were you just kind of just trying to save yourself from not giving me service? Because they already knew that they should have given me services and they didn't. They had absolutely no data collected on my child. And they were like, we're looking at educational impact. How would you know if there's any impact? There was no data collected. There's no report card that defines this. How would we know? We actually know nothing, and that's enough to qualify. When there is no data, that is enough to go ahead and get an evaluation. So this is all like gatekeeping way of doing things, right? Now, like the district decided to withhold, wrote me a prior written notice, told me that I was wrong, and that I had to refute back. Next thing I know, the whole year ended. Literally.
Oh my God.
Literally, right? Like I started in November. By the time I got the evaluation AP, it was already May. No, I think it was June. I got it signed the last day of June. I mean, the last day of school. And then the 60-day timeline started at the start of school.
In the next year.
Of the next year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so between the times of March, from March until we started back to school in September, I went out of pocket and I had to pay for services. So that's a privilege issue, right? That's also a power thing too, you know, like, I had the privilege to do it, to put her into tutoring services and all of that, right? But do other families have that? So imagine if you're a family who cannot read that type of language and it is jargon. When I mean, like, I read it and it was like, this thing, I don't even understand what it says, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, that is one barrier. And then, like, I have this program specialist, like, using coded language against me, and I don't even know that it's coded. Well, I do know, but imagine if I did it, right? Like, if I wasn't in special education, I wouldn't have known that, right? And then they are the ones that are allowed to give me access, and then wasted the entire year to do it, and I had no rights.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
I know. And then I filed with the state, except the state is so backed up and behind. We're in what is this, October?
We're in October.
I filed it in June, still pending. And that is under both OCR and the state. So we're looking at overall, like, backed up. So to some degree, like, IDEA is supposed to be made into the equitable, but based on all of these, like, procedures and all of these safeguarding methods that they did, it's so backed up. I don't feel protected as a family, right? Johnston. I don't feel like anybody was at, my daughter's corner, like, rooting for her, trying to give her the best. What I felt was they were like, oh my God, this mom is mad. Let's not piss her off. We need to, like, not get a lawsuit. That's what they were thinking.
That's how most are thinking.
Yeah. But this story also makes me think about there's power differentials in episode 3.
Yeah.
Researcher to clinician.
Clinicians, yeah. So I think that episode is really talking about, like, the disconnect between what researchers are thinking and how clinicians are operating. I'm using that word again. Operationalizing what, like, clinical practice is, right? And we're talking about researchers are only thinking about the theoretical part. With this very small sample size in a very highly controlled environment, this is what we're able to do. And B, clinicians aren't having the luxury, again, to implement that finding because there's so many variables at play here, right? We may not have the same type of students that the researchers have. When we trial this, I'm coming up with different results, and there's so many policy barriers that the clinicians can and cannot do, things like that. And I think that's the reason why there's this huge disconnect. And I think ASHA kind of tried solving the problem by creating the evidence-based practice triangle, or the pyramid, right? We have the data, the research data, and then we also have the clinician's experience, and then we also have the client, the response from the client, or the client preferences. And I think those three, I highly important to incorporate those all three together as clinicians. What are your thoughts on that altogether?
I honestly felt like I didn't really understand the power differential between the researcher and the clinician. I mean, like,
that is a legit answer, to be honest.
Yes, because here's the thing. Like, when I think about power differentials, right? Like, it is a power differential because, like, yes, the researcher gets to be the people that, like, decide on what to look at. That is true. That there is a level of power for doing that, right? And, like, it doesn't require the researcher to come to the SLP and ask them what they want to look at or whatever, right? But I don't look at it as a significant impact to our general field because of it.
I mean, do you remember the first episode of season 1? Do SLPs even read what researchers put out? Stop! It's a legitimate answer.
Yes,
right.
I remember.
Right? Do SLPs even look at what we pump out?
Right.
The answer is no. Or if they do, it's very much more like, let me try to solve this clinical question, and once I get it, I don't need to read more. Right. So if that's the case, then clinicians are definitely not reading that. Researchers are in this abstract space, pumping out things, and there is no, I mean, the power comes from, I believe, the legitimacy, also the positions at play. But do you even call it power when clinicians are not even reading it?
That's a true point. Also, we could look at it as like we just play different roles.
Exactly.
Like back to your pyramid story, right? It's judgment, right?
Client response or the client feedback, family preference, client preference.
Oh yeah. There was right. And so given the 3 different points, like we could just look at it as like it's just a different role.
It's a piece of the puzzle that makes it, right?
Yeah. And I don't really look at it as like a power differential. Like even if I told you what I was interested in, John, and you decided to do it, like who cares? Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Like because like at the end of the day, like maybe I was gonna use all my other judgment, my clinical judgment to synthesize the information of the family partnership that I have and the experience that I hold, right?
Yeah.
Although I do have to say that research is really important to still read because that's also how you end up making the wrong clinical decisions, right? But I still feel like most of our field, all in our scope of our practice, how many is that? 12 points or something like that? There's like 12 different, what's our scope of practice is like
are we're talking about 6 right now? Or
no. Just like SLP, scope of practice.
Oh, the big 9.
Yes.
ASHA big 9.
Yes,
Yes.
When you look at that, the hard data has been existing for a long time. Like, those things aren't going to change. What we know about fluency, for example, like it hasn't radically, like the main points is what it is. Like AAC is like that, right? It's like AAC isn't going to one day be like, let's just go back to no AAC.
Right. The data has always been there.
There's hard
like
data.
minimal pairs has always been
there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could have different ways of having researchers define in different intervention. But in terms of the actual data of what is AAC, what works, that's just pretty stable.
It's classic. Yeah.
Pretty stable. And I would say the same about like all 9 areas, right? Like,
yeah.
So like the cycles approach of articulation, like that thing is old. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Like it's like I look at it as just a different role.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. And then I think we have our 4th episode was on Maria Choi Peña's work.
That was a good one.
I like that article, right?
That was a really good one. And then I went back and I read some more of her work from like the book, you know, and I'm like,
the mothering other language. Yeah.
Excellent overall. Like, just really enjoyed the way that and what I love about Maria Chalpena is the way that she operationalized, okay? Like, she operationalized under her own positionality statement of saying who she is and who she is. Yeah, I like that. Not was, but who she is, like, and how she was kind of saying this without having to explicitly. Lives are not that clean cut, you know, and we all are dynamic people. Right. And so sometimes education is not the forefront
or the priority. Right. So that would be, to be specific, like certain families who don't have the social and the financial capital, right? Their number one priority is, how am I going to get through this day? Rather than, is my child getting enough speech and language services?
Right.
So once those basic needs are met, then I will go ahead and discuss about what my child's needs are, but am I able to get my needs met first?
Right.
As a parent. Yeah.
And also there's a level of privilege to be able to take the time to be with your child and work through homework with them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like it's just not a reality for some people. And like maybe like when we think about AAC, for example, I feel like so much of our AAC stuff about like stakeholder buy-in, right? Like it is very absent of the realities of our families. And it almost feels like the end goal is to have families start doing it so that they can have it, they could be doing it all the time and they'll learn faster. But in reality, I also believe, I mean, what's the data on the fact of like children are at school for 6 hours a day and then they come home, they eat dinner, they do bath time, they play a little. Collectively, that's about 3 to 4 hours, and they have to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the data that said that 6 hours in the daytime is not enough?
Or do they even do it within those 6 times?
Yeah, but what is the data of like in the school for 6 hours if they were to do it, and then if they took a break for the 4 hours at nighttime, that they would not make as much improvement? Where is the data on that?
Well, we don't. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, that's the question, right? So why do we need so much stakeholder buy-in? Like maybe it's enough buy-in when the school staff is doing it.
Well, okay, so I can see the counter argument to that.
Yes, a counter.
Yes, I agree that the school staff should be adamant about it, right? There should be classroom aides, the classroom teacher, the SLP, right? Should be doing it
meaningful and use it in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
if you did it that way, right?
Yeah.
And that's the data. So then, but that doesn't mean that they can't use, they have to use it the whole day sometimes too, right? Like they have other modalities of communicating, because then you have to counter that with what about multimodality?
Right.
Right.
What about unaided forms?
Exactly. Unaided forms. That doesn't count.
That should count.
That's 100% gonna count. And also, like, sometimes when you give the AAC stuff to children, they're tired after a long day of school.
They are.
And I feel like, why can't they just have a little break where they get to just be like using different modalities?
Yeah.
You know what I found that like reminds me of something? There's a YouTube channel that I was watching about a child with cochlear implant, and how like every day after school she just needs to unplug.
She turns it off.
She takes it off. Right.
Yeah.
And she just unplugs because she was just like, it's just too much. I just don't want to be bothered.
It's a autonomy.
And that's like the same thing as us too, right? It's like after a long day. What did you say to me, John? Like, why you live in this apartment by yourself? And I was like, this place is like, aren't you sad? And then you were like, listen, like after a long day of like going to school and talking to all these people, like when I come home, I don't want to keep on doing that. Like,
being mindful of others. Yeah, totally get it.
Yeah, right. Like you want to just decompress and like, and then we wonder why like kids like freak out when they see the AAC device sometimes, right? Because they associate it with work. Have you ever seen that?
Associated? Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Because they're associating it with work, because like now every time like I want something, even though you know that I want that, you're making me say that. You're making me do this. Right. And I don't know if that is...
Although we say that we should be honoring all forms of communication, right? Teaching functional communication is like, okay, now try it in a more functional way. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, well, I liked Maria's paper because she identified... I know we went off a little bit of a tangent about that, but like...
No, you're absolutely right.
What I'm trying to point out was that like everyone's life is unique and different, and Maria identified some of those things, but I also think what Maria identified was like real hardship though, right? Like immigration issues,
family affairs, family affairs, and then even access to like physical health, like so healthcare.
Yes. And like feeling like they don't have social capital.
Right. And they're like, we can't adhere to what the school wants in terms of family participation. So for example, a lot of the time our IEP meetings happen in the morning or during the daytime. These families who don't have the social and the financial capital are working in the day. They don't have the time to get the time off to come. right? And then if the families don't come, then the school districts and the school team will say, yes, this mom's not caring about their kid.
Yeah.
That's how it always ends. And sometimes they try to be really sneaky about it and just call mom and say, Mom, you agree? And she'll be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. She won't even know what she's agreeing to. And the team is just signing on her behalf.
Yes. And what we're showing is that's a real like issue of privilege, right? But I also think that like what Maria, though she didn't write it in there, I could also look at it from the perspective of like any parent, even if you work 9 to 5, like my child is allowed, right, to just take a break and do what they want and talk to me in a way that they want to talk to me. Like even if I am home, I potentially could do some like, oh, what did you mean by that? Or tell me on this. And like, you know what I mean? Let me show you this iPad so you can learn how to do it like this, right? Like I could, but do I want to do that right now? Or do I already know what she wants and I could just accept it? So I think it's too, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Maria's particular paper was really weighing in on like societal issues and concerns.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Like some actual issues, social issues, right? But I think that parents who also are not impacted by those specific social issues have their own set of real life things that could be happening to them. And that is valid enough to just also be like, listen, the school's priorities, it's not that important right now.
Agreed.
Well, anyway, John, those were our episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the literature we're reading is becoming like more diverse and more outside of ASHA. And I think that's really the key here is to kind of expand what other fields are talking about in terms of disability, access, education, special education.
Oh, we're going to wrap it up over here.
All right, I'll see you all later.
Bye.